Hello. I have a special fondness for Irish fiction, and at the beginning of this year, I posted a video about a new Irish canon of literature, and naturally, over the course of 2025, I've been reading some excellent new Irish publications, and I was really excited to see just the other day that RTE published this 10 of the best Irish books of 2025, and having a quick look through, I have read 4 of these, and I have heard of a couple others that I've been interested in reading, and there are a few that I have not heard of at all, which is why I really enjoy going through lists like this to kind of catch me up on books that I might have missed out on. And yes, we are getting towards the end of the year where we have best books of the year lists. So I'm going to go through and discuss each of these books briefly, and I would love to hear if you have read any of these titles, if you also agree that they're among some of the best of the year, or if there are other Irish books that you want to really recommend to me. Please let me know about that in the comments below. First off, there is Let Me Go Mad in My Own Way, which is a title for a novel that has a real tragicomic edge to it, doesn't it? It seems very suitable for Irish fiction, although this is actually a line taken from Sophocles' play Electra. So this novel concerns an Irish woman who moves back to rural Ireland after having lived in London for a period of time, and after she is broken up with her boyfriend there, and she goes back to Ireland to care for her ailing father, but her boyfriend moves back with her, and she's not entirely sure if he's moved there to try to get with her again, or if this is just a coincidence. But this makes her sort of pore over her family past and confront things about her own personal history. And Feeney's previous novel was listed for the Booker Prize, although I hadn't actually read it, called How to Build a Boat, because I'd heard very mixed things about that, although they say in this article that this, her third novel, is even better than that. And looking at reviews generally, it seems to be fairly positive, so I do want to read this. Nesting. This is a novel that came out earlier this year, and it's a debut that made such an impact, and I read it because it was listed for the Women's Prize for Fiction, and I'm so glad I did. It's one of my favorite books that I've read this year. It's so impactful how it follows a woman who tries to extract herself from an abusive relationship, even though she has young children. And so to try to live independently and apart from her husband, who is very manipulative, and the way it shows the day-to-day difficulty of her experience and the terror of living alongside this man who she still has to have dealings with, and how he tries to pressure her to spend time with him again and move back in with him. It's so emotional and powerful, and a really striking and topical story. Ordinary Saints. This is another novel about an Irish woman living in London who is trying to reconcile her complicated feelings about faith and sexuality and grief. Her older brother, who she loved very much, has died recently, and he was a priest. And she receives the news that he might be turned into a saint. And so following along in this process, she confronts issues about her own family past and her relationship with Ireland. This was shortlisted for the Waterstones Debut Fiction Prize in the summer, and I really wanted to read it then, but I just didn't get around to it. And I've heard such positive things about that this is a novel I definitely want to read. Venetian Vespers. This novel is set in the year 1900 and follows a male novelist who is just recently married, an American woman, and they're having their honeymoon in Venice, one of the most atmospheric places in the world, I think. And this is meant to be both a love story, a ghost story, and a mystery. Now, I've not read John Banville for quite a while. He has written a series of mystery novels and genre novels. I loved his novel The Sea, and I've been meaning to reread it recently and been wanting to get to some of his other literary fiction before also exploring his mysteries. Our Son. Now, this novel's author, Anna Carey, she has published a number of books for children and young people, but this is her very first novel for adults, and it follows a woman who is kind of down on her luck songwriter, and she watches from afar as a former bandmate of hers has become very, very successful. And this former bandmate of hers gets in touch with her, saying that she wants to complete a song that they had started writing together a long time ago. So she has to navigate through feelings about her own past and her striving for success. And this is meant to be very heartwarming, but also comic. And yeah, I did not come across this before, but I think it sounds really good. The Benefactors. And I thought this novel was so striking and original. It follows a teenage girl named Misty who is sexually assaulted by three 18-year-old boys, and the novel primarily follows the mothers of these boys as they meet, as they try to figure out what to do about this situation. But the narrative also moves between a number of different voices of people in the local community who some are very closely connected to this case and others who are more at a distance. And it creates this overall picture of this incident and the complexities of it and the challenges of finding justice for young women who are assaulted in this way. And it feels even more relevant thinking about this book now, considering everything that's been going on in the British news recently about Virginia Giuffre's posthumously published memoir and the reawakening of the whole Prince Andrew scandal. Thinking about these larger issues to do with sexual assault and the difficulty of finding justice. I think this is an extraordinary novel. Thirst Trap. And this is another debut novel that is set in Belfast and follows three young women who are approaching 30, and a good friend of theirs died a year ago. So while they grapple with these issues to do with grief, they are also trying to figure out what to do with the rest of their adult lives. And I think it's such an interesting age to focus on of young people that are turning 30. And it's a really crucial time when you can't, just kind of drift around anymore. You start to have to make really serious decisions about the directions that your life wants to go in. And they comment that this is a very funny and relatable story. And so I think it sounds like a pleasure to read. The Language of Remembering, another debut novel. There's been so many great debuts this year. And I read this earlier this year, and I thought it was so powerful how it relates the story of an Irish man who has been living in South America for a period of time, but he returns to Ireland with his Brazilian wife and their young child, and how he tries to readjust to life in Ireland. But also the reason that he has moved there is because his aging mother is suffering from Alzheimer's, and in her condition she sometimes reverts to just speaking Irish rather than English, which is something that he doesn't speak himself. So he starts to go to classes to try to learn the Irish language, to just understand what she is saying. And how this novel is structured in that it moves between this present time with him and the time in the past with his mother when she was first pregnant with him. It's so moving how it goes back and forth between these time periods to show parallels in their experiences, but also differences that have taken place over time and how it pieces together a larger picture of this family. It's such a moving novel. Ghost Wedding, and this is another novel that moves between two very different time periods. In one of the narrative strands, it follows a man in the 1920s who is grappling with the trauma of being involved in World War I, but he is also working on the construction of a lake at a manor house. And it also follows a man closer to our present time who is planning a wedding at this same location and who is also grappling with his own issues to do with the past. Now, they remark that the author, David Park, that it has been commented he is one of the most under the radar writers on this island. Now, I don't think I've come across him before or read anything by him before, so I really ought to change that now. And finally, there is Show Me Where It Hurts, a novel that I read earlier this year and which is very tied to my own experiences of traveling to Ireland itself when I was very kindly invited to the Dublin Literary Awards this year and had the pleasure of staying in the city. And so I was reading this book while I was in Dublin itself and actually sitting in some of the locations that are mentioned in the novel. So it's a very vivid experience for me. And I thought this novel was so powerful and devastating. It's a really heartbreaking story, but also a really impactful one. It follows a woman who, at the very beginning of the novel, she experiences what could only be described as one of the worst things imaginable when she is driving home with her husband. Her husband is driving her home and their two young children, and her husband turns to her, apologizes, and then purposefully steers their car off the road with the intention of killing their entire family because he is suffering from massive issues to do with depression. But both he survives and she survives, but their children do not. So the story is about how to go forward from here, and it alternates between the timelines of her present after this accident and then recalling periods from the past and her husband as he spirals into this depression and the real difficulty of knowing how to support and live with someone who is dealing with such serious mental health difficulties. It's such a powerful book, and I made a whole separate review video about this and a couple of the other books that I've read from this list. So if you want to know more of my thoughts about these, I'll put links to those below, as well as the vlog that I made about going to Dublin itself, which was such a joyous experience. So those are the books on their list, and yes, there are quite a few of these that I want to check out and read, hopefully before the end of the year or sometime in the future. But yeah, I would love to hear in the comments below. Have you read any of these books? Are you keen on reading any of them now? Or are there any other recent Irish publications that you want me to know about? Please comment about that in the comments below. And I hope you're doing well and reading good things. I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.